China is a surveillance state, and we have the U.S. to thank for it. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. YouTube is still suppressing the show, so as part of Operation Honeypot, please leave a comment below with a honeypot emoji for the algorithm. Now, on with this show. China is the actualized dream of every authoritarian. China has a surveillance and censorship apparatus that's second to none. For ordinary, everyday Chinese people, like the Yangs, it's an utter nightmare. Back in 2009, local authorities ordered the Yangs and more than 300 other families in their village in Jiangsu province to move out. The Yangs and other farmers across China filed complaints. And in 2015, a judge ruled that the land seizure was illegal. But thanks to China's surveillance and censorship apparatus, Chinese authorities cracked down hard on human rights lawyers, and the Yangs found their lawsuit overturned and dismissed without trial. Basically, the CCP saw justice being done and countered with LOL, JK. But it didn't end there. Since then, the Yang family has faced house break-ins, police beatings, jail, food and water deprivation, forced disappearances, and constant surveillance. This included more than a dozen cameras ringing their house. And the government kept track of their train tickets, hotel bookings, purchases, text messages, and phone calls. Even Mr. Yang's IV drips watched him after he was beaten with bricks by police. It's like a horrific version of The Truman Show. Everywhere they went, the Yangs saw police and masked men who stopped them every time they tried to go to Beijing. This is an even creepier instance of the police saying, "Every breath you take, every move you make, I'll be watching you." Meanwhile, as Mr. Yang points out, every move in my own home is monitored. The Yangs are not alone. Thousands of ordinary Chinese people share Yang's story, which goes to show that China is not a safe place to live in as long as the CCP is in control. If anybody brings attention to things that makes China look bad, like school bullying, mass killings, corrupt politicians, or land seizures, China's first response is to crack down on information and the protesters. And justice? LOL, JK. And guess who's been helping the CCP get better at this for decades? The good old US of A. Now, there's a lot more of this episode to come, but first, if you like this kind of deep dive into what's really going on in China, you've got to subscribe to my premium website, ChinaUncensored.tv. That's where you'll see episodes and live streams we can't put on YouTube. And if you want to support China Uncensored, buying a membership is the best way you can. It's just the price of a bag of coffee. Once again, that's ChinaUncensored.tv. So we've known for years now that US tech companies have helped build China's Orwellian state in many ways, including helping to build China's Great Firewall and conducting research linked to the Chinese military. Plus, there's the selling of equipment to security officials. What kind of equipment, you ask? Oh, just your average stuff you can get down at Best Buy. Things like national intelligence systems, predictive policing analysis software, racial recognition tools for targeting specific ethnicities, fingerprint recognitions, AI cameras and hard drives, DNA sequencers, encryption technology, mapping software, police gear, and more. The US might as well just open a Dystopias R Us store at this point. This is despite multiple laws barring the sale of military and police tech to China, mainly because, according to sanctions experts, the laws have significant loopholes and often don't account for the sheer pace of technological development. US companies that have been called out deny that they work with China's security apparatus and say things along the lines of how they value human rights, comply with export laws, and don't work with Chinese security, which is impressive, being able to say all that while their pants are on fire. For example, IBM told AP News, if older systems are being abused today and IBM has no knowledge that they are, the misuse is entirely outside of IBM's control and was not contemplated by IBM decades ago and in no way reflects on IBM today. Sure, maybe IBM sold I2 police analysis software to Xinjiang Police and China's Ministry of State Security more than a decade ago. Helped build China's main internet censorship system, the Golden Shield, to censor the internet and crack down on alleged terrorists, the Falun Gong religious sect, and even villagers deemed troublesome, and worked with a Chinese defense contractor to construct China's national fingerprint database. But IBM and other American tech companies couldn't have known things would become as bad as they are now. In China, it's out of their hands. How could they have known authoritarians would act like this? That's what they would have you believe. But a recent report by AP News shows more evidence of how American companies have enabled brutal mass detention and surveillance in China. It details how American companies market their products in a way that seems to be tailored for authoritarianism. For example, Oracle openly bragged about how it helped Chinese police better identify potential suspects, which in China often means dissidents. Wow, I can't believe the company run by Tony Robbins' evil doppelganger would act evilly. Dell, meanwhile, boasted on Chinese social media of helping the police in cracking down on rumor mongers, which is almost as crazy as the rumor I heard that Dell is an evil shill of a company, and they love eating baby hippopotamuses. Too bad I live in America, where I have free speech, and they can't brag about shutting me down for rumor mongering. Seagate bragged that it sold hard drives tailor-made for Chinese police and their AI video systems to control key persons. Cisco bragged in a sales pitch to communist officials that they could help with the crackdown on Falun Gong. Some of these posts were made as recently as 2022, though it's not like we're just learning that authoritarianism is bad. And guess what? In spite of all the public scrutiny on China's authoritarianism, American tech companies are still keeping things running in China. AP News reports that there are maintenance contracts with American tech companies dating to this year behind some of the Chinese police systems targeting the Yang family I mentioned earlier. The CCP has weaponized American technology to crack down on its enemies, including untold millions of innocents, both domestically and abroad. This is especially true in Xinjiang, where the CCP's oppression of Uyghurs has been hugely supported by surveillance technology, especially from American tech company Landasoft, which sold its version of IBM's i2 software to Xinjiang police, who ultimately used it to set up an all-encompassing surveillance system that flagged enormous number of people as suspicious. These people were then disappeared into camps, or worse. And yet, for some strange reason, people are still arguing that the US shouldn't let geopolitics get in the way of scientific and technological cooperation with China. This was especially the line during talks of renewing the US-China Science and Technology Agreement. Proponents have said things along the lines of how doing science with China makes the US stronger, and that China is essential for scientific discovery and innovation. Because we all know how the whole world has benefited from Chinese discovery and innovation. The same is said about cooperation in the AI industry. MIT Technology Review argues that the world's superpowers need to work together to make sure AI benefits humanity, and that both the US and China need to recalibrate their approach to AI development, moving away from viewing AI primarily as a military asset. The New York Times put out an opinion piece making a similar argument, saying that the US and China should unite to establish AI regulation to prevent deepfake warfare, autonomous systems going rogue, or runaway misinformation machines. You know, laws, the basis of justice, the thing we started this episode establishing China takes super seriously. And surely we can trust China not to weaponize deepfakes, to stop dangerous things from going loose outside of its control, and to counter misinformation. Let's see what AI thinks about this. Hey, ChatGPT, can we trust China on this? It just says ha 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 for about 40 paragraphs. Lots of pro-China collaborators argue that we shouldn't let geopolitics get in the way of scientific study, and that if we're so concerned about Chinese intellectual theft, we just need to establish safeguards. But in practice, this way of thinking allows China to take advantage of American corporate interests, which in turn ruins the lives of people like the Yang family, and could ruin even more lives if China starts getting funny ideas like invading Taiwan. So not like funny haha, especially since they do it with the help of American technology. And if you want to stay up to date on the latest China news, click this button to sign up for my free weekly newsletter. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.